Everyone, welcome back to another FogCutter Live. I'm Mike Curtis. I'm here with Preston James, founder of Traders Edge Network. Preston, we got a ton to talk about like usual, but
Yeah.
coming off of a pretty crazy week last week with an even wilder finish on Friday leading into today. So say hello, we'll dive in.
Yeah, it really was. And just we were talking right before this started how basically the S&P 500 in the uptrend it's in pulled back and touched the 50-day,
Right.
and it's bounced off of it. And man, I guess that can cause alarm bells and everything, but it's pretty textbook action in a healthy uptrend.
Yeah, I mean, we talked last week about some of those, the scary headlines, the AI bubble, and it was a rough week for the market, right? The Nasdaq dropped. I think it was its worst week since April. And to your point, Preston, we've been in that really steady bullish uptrend, and we talked last week as well. Hey, it might be time to tighten up your put protection, be thinking just a little defensively. And then sure enough, just from an extended level, the market is always going to pull back. We're going to see some profit taking after pushes higher like that. And to your point, you can see right there, just back October 10th, we came right down. So literally a month ago, we came down to that 50-day moving average. It, held the uptrend, held the 50-day moving average, and the next couple of weeks just went up to set new all-time highs, right? We hit those highs and peeled off last week, came right back down to that 50-day moving average. So this uptrend is still intact. We've seen higher highs, higher lows. It's holding that 50-day moving average. So Preston, the biggie from here, what are you looking for over the next week or two or three as we're kind of we bounced off of that 50-day moving average? And the other thing I'll point out real quick, if you study candlestick patterns, right, what we saw on Friday is a really bullish candlestick pattern, right? Where at one point the S&P 500 was down over 80 points, and it just did a huge reversal midday, huge, where we went from down 80 back to where I think we closed up like 6 points. So an 85 point or more reversal from those lows where the bulls came in and just, pushed the prices right off of those lows. So, Preston, back to that question. What are you looking for over the next couple of weeks, seeing some of this recent price action?
Well, I'll just lay over all of this that before this pullback started, all the market, I mean, we are now in record, at least in modern history, of government shutdown territory.
Right.
So that's uncertainty. It's another layer going through earnings announcements and so forth. I mean, and now we looks like it looks like it's going to open. The
Right.
7 Democratic senators, I mean, they were working late into the night last night and Sunday. And so the anticipation is that uncertainty ends, which obviously means that, and you're in New York and Kyle's in Miami. We were joking we're in the big triangle today of where we're all at physically, and both of you are getting back on flights. Just on a side note, have you had any delays, or is it busier at the airport?
We were delayed coming out here. Yeah. So we
Okay.
got about 45 minutes.
So I hope you guys both make it back today and have safe flights. But anyway, I think that's important to layer over. That's just not a small thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we saw such a strong open today. Again, I think the S&P jumped up about 60, 70 points. I didn't see it right at the open, but futures were up on that news of government finally coming together, finally getting a deal done. It makes you wonder, why couldn't they have done this a month ago? Right. I mean, what was the delay? But anyway, we won't get into all that. So that, like you said, Preston, that certainty and maybe some of that rally we saw midday Friday was in anticipation of that. Maybe some of the really connected behind the scenes rumblings and whispers started, circulating that they were going to be coming to a deal here soon. And that helped with some of that reversal. And then some of it's just the technical components at work, right? The market pulls back and it feels like things are on sale, right? When you see the S&P at a high a couple weeks ago and now it's peeled off of that, right? And some of these tech heavy, AI stocks as well, they were really on sale. And so it just gets to the point, it's very healthy, right, Preston? We've talked about this before on these podcasts, but it's very healthy for the market to go on sale like that, to have some profit taking, to see a pullback, and then buyers can come back in with a little more confidence. It feels like they're buying at a safer level. The uptrend is still intact, and they start saying, okay, if we jump back up to these highs, look at how much I stand to make here. And it's just a very healthy, normal thing for the markets to experience.
And maybe, I'm not sure about this, but she was in the news. She isn't retired yet, but she's not going to rerun for office. But maybe Pelosi slammed in some call buying on the S&P last Friday. Maybe that's what caused the inverted hammer, or whatever you call that candlestick.
Right.
So, and I will just say too, and this is a side note, but I saw Disney announce its earnings this week, and can we get my ABC, my Monday Night Football, and my College Game Day back on my YouTube TV? I mean, that's as important to some people as the government shutdown. Let's get stuff working again. Let's get a deal.
Hopefully it's a big week. We get a lot of those things sorted out here. So talking about earnings, Preston, we're really through the thick of the earnings season, right? There's about 3 weeks that starts about 2 weeks after the start of the quarter, right? So October, the Q4 starts. So about middle of October, we have about these 3 weeks that's just the really thick, heavy earnings season. So we're through a lot of that, but anything on the earnings front that you're watching, because there still are companies reporting out there.
Yeah. Several are really interesting to me this week. One is CoreWeave, CRWV. After the close tonight, they announced, and they got caught up. They've really catapulted higher. This recent pullback, companies that are younger and more aggressively growing, man, when the market pulls back, they pull back all the more. I call them companies full of promise,
right?
And versus company full of profits. And it's okay to be full of promise. It's okay to be young. It's okay to be a toddler, have growth in front of you. But they really, really take it. They really pull back extra much.
They get hit a lot harder.
Really
right?
get whacked.
Yeah.
And especially in market corrections or bear markets. Goodness gracious. But they're out after the close today. OKLO is a young buck energy / nuclear. This is the powering behind the data centers and this whole build out. They really get clipped, Mike, as we can see here. This isn't just a mild pullback. They really feel it. So announcing earnings after the close on Tuesday. And then Circle, CRCL, the new stable coin, new financial frontier,
right?
Whole rigmarole. I mean, look at how much these pull back. This is a recent IPO, but they announced this week, and then more of. But I also like. I'm not saying I like, but I'm also watching C Limited, ticker SE,
right,
out before the open tomorrow. These are all exciting growth names. This is way more of a mature growth story here. And then Applied Materials, Alibaba later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the names I'm watching especially.
Yeah. So still, I know as far as my portfolio, there's still a few that have earnings to come out. So like we've said the last couple of weeks, make sure you know your earnings dates. Make sure you got that top of mind as you're coming into this week. So there's, even though we're through that thick of earnings season, quite a few still reporting. So make sure you know. Just kind of on the macro economic front, I mean, there's always headlines. There's always things going on. I know there, at least as I've been poking around over the last couple of days, a few of these headlines about other countries, other central banks starting to be a little more cautious on rate cuts. We, of course, have our last FOMC policy meeting in December, where there was all that anticipation we were going to get another 0.25 rate cut. And then as Fed Chair Powell was speaking after the last FOMC meeting, he kind of threw a wet blanket on that. So just to kind of keep an eye on any developments on that front, because we have this week quite a few Fed officials that are scheduled to speak and discuss kind of the economic outlook, the interest rate situation, things like that. So there's always something that could add a little spark out there.
Always something, for sure.
So Preston, let me ask you this, as we're in kind of this pullback area, we got the bounce Friday, we got some follow through today. Is this kind of treasure hunting mode for you, where you're looking for new positions, where you're trying to take advantage of these price levels?
Yeah, one that really popped. Actually, I sent an update on it to the WoW Insiders right before we got started, but I just started up a new money press in ticker symbol ALAB. It's called Astera Labs. ALAB is the ticker symbol, and it's got actively traded weeklies. That's one little telltale sign that I like, when a newer company, Mike, will sometimes from day one, or maybe day 2 or 3. I remember back we don't have to look up Reddit right here, but in 2 days of existence, if a new stock has weekly options already, that is such a sign of just massive interest in the name, because they would not they would not have they would wait and do a wait and see if they were at all in doubt or wondering what the interest was in a certain name. But from the get-go, if a newer stock gets weekly options, it doesn't mean that I trade it every time, but I love it. It really rises up my radar level, especially when they throw out, what we call a setup, what we refer to as setup, which helps us give us an edge of why this stock and why now. But anyway, ALAB, massively traded weekly options, compelling weekly premiums. And I just like, you can see that it's really worked back, and then it's really responded how the week started today. And to me, it's a go for a money press. Yeah.
And for those technical traders out there, they're going to love that it's right near that support level, right near that 100-day moving average as well. Sure. So a few little just technical points underneath it that can help give you some support underneath that price. So I love it, Preston. For those that maybe aren't familiar with the WoW Insider, Preston shares some of his trades with that WoW Insider group. And if you've been exploring the money press, you want to see what Preston's trading, get some trade ideas just flowing. Preston does a Friday webinar where he just dives in depth in this strategy session about what the market's doing, current positions that he's in, et cetera, et cetera. You can check that out. It's freeinsidertrial.com if you want to pop in there and see what's going on with those other WoW Insiders. A fun forum, a fun chat room as well that we just got an awesome, really fun group in there. They love to help out new members. Our members of the crew, our trading mentors jump in there and chime in, help answer questions as well. So check that out if you want to try that out for a couple weeks for free. You can explore that. So Preston, before we sign this one off,
it's okay to have a little fun with this, and that's what I think. All of that, what you just described. In my mind, I'm just like, fun. I'm like, mentors coming in, the community, the Fridays. I've come to find out that people take me aside at these live events that we do, and they have to grab their spouse or significant other, and they say, he's starting. They don't know what I'm going to say next. So we try to keep the Fridays fun too, but you can have fun with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say it all the time. Trading can be kind of an isolated, lonely endeavor. So it's fun to have a community like that. People can come together, bounce ideas off of each other. I love seeing it. Hey, I'm looking at this one. What do you guys think? And you start seeing people chiming in on a certain stock. And, we've used those and built trades off of it, right? Preston, having that power
Absolutely.
of the network is so fun, so powerful. So
Yes.
before we sign this one off, any other closing thoughts from UP? We got a fun story to highlight. Someone
Yeah, I
from,
want to get to that story, but just to say that this week economically on Thursday, the CPI numbers. Now, if we do get the government reopened, we were wondering about this too right before we started, Mike. We
right,
don't know. Is there a few days where it's getting back to the office and then can they just resume and go right back to it? But because these are government generated reports, so the consumer price index on Thursday and then the producer price index on Friday, these twin announcements, I guess we just get to see if we do get reopened,
right.
which it kind of looks like we will. Is that in time to announce these? These are big economic indicators. The Fed watches these. These are high interest ones that could potentially have a high market impact.
Totally.
So that's happening this week, or is it? We'll
Yeah.
see.
Something to just keep a close eye on. Usually these happen like clockwork, right? The government's
Right.
open. It's not a thing. We're just in such a unique time. So it's such we were talking about it, like you said, Preston, but if they vote tomorrow and things are funded and we're back open, is that going to come out or are they delayed? We don't know. So keep an eye out. Watch these economic calendars. There's a ton out there. Even some of your brokers might publish some of that information, but keep an eye on some of that. That'll be closely
And
watched.
I would think these are high priority
Mhm.
numbers. I mean,
For
this
sure.
is directly affecting economies and issuing bonds and all these important
Right.
things that have to happen that haven't been announced. And
No
I
doubt.
would imagine that they would be first priority things.
Yeah, and the other thing to look for, which might bring even a little more volatility, is if they're releasing a couple months in a row, right? As they're
Oh,
playing some catch up, because some of these got missed from last month. So we'll see. Keep an ear to the ground on that, and make sure that doesn't catch any of you off guard. So, all right, let's share this story. Jeff P. He said, "I never knew what I was missing from trading options. I started selling covered calls and puts the week of September 8th while reading the Money Press Method book. I brought in about 3,000 a week. And I started
not a
with my
bad
first
book.
Money
Not a
Press."
bad book. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we like that one. But he just goes on and says, "I'm still generating over 3,000 a week in net profits from the Money Press. All option activity last week was $6,500 plus. I track it all on a spreadsheet. I was a professional stock picker for years, so I do have that edge. But thanks to Preston and Mike for setting me on a great path to success. Since I'm still learning about options, have a long way to go. The tools you have given us are great." Jeff P., thanks for sharing that.
And
We love it. Love hearing that. Love that you're putting things to work, taking some of your other stock trading background, and now you're just amping up your profits and potential. We love it. So thanks for being part of Trader's Edge. And hopefully we keep hearing more success stories from you here just around the corner as you
yeah,
keep
I love
seeing
it,
those
Jeff.
results grow and grow. So awesome. Well, P, I think we covered a lot of ground. Anything else before we sign this one off?
No, I think, yeah, it's an adventure. It never ends. It's a journey. I don't know if I could start my week any other way, just whatever, however it starts. I'm fascinated by the markets and all these players. And if you're a new company or a mature company, and if you're going through setups and then
Right.
strategies, it's uh, eternally challenging in a good way.
Definitely. All right. Well, we'll be watching this week closely, see if we can keep climbing back up to those highs. It'll be interesting if we fail and start to come back down and test the lows of Friday. So I think these next couple of weeks are going to be pretty interesting. The government reopening, those economic reports getting caught up. So we're, like always, never a dull moment. You don't want to miss next week as we have another FogCutter live session on Monday, and we'll talk about all the recent developments then. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch everyone next week. Thanks as always,
Will
Preston.
do. Travel safe, you
You bet.
guys. All
Thanks.
right.